everyone, and welcome. I'm so happy to see all of your faces, and thank you for joining us for the final presentations of the 2021-22 Social Innovation Fellows. This is always a really fun evening, and I hope you'll enjoy it as much as we always do. I always advise the students to speak from their hearts, and so I will do the same. I just have a few thank yous, first of all. Let me begin by expressing my gratitude and admiration to our team mentors. And I know the students would join me in sending their appreciation for your amazing leadership and your mentoring. We just could not do this program without you. Thank you. To our crew of senior fellows this year, wow, you guys have been amazing. You have no idea how important your role is to all of us, and your contributions this year have been really exceptional. Thank you so much. And a word of appreciation to my team, Alicia, Jack, Jay, Megan. You all continue to show up in ways big and small, and you really do make the program what it is. And I am so grateful. Thank you. So thank you to all of you and everything that you do. This has been a challenging year. Many of our students have been juggling work, increased academic and home demands due to the stresses of the ongoing pandemic. Several of you have had your own health challenges that I know you've worked through. And so I say to you, I am so proud of you. I'm proud of your resilience. I'm proud that you continue to place priority on this program amidst all your other demands. I'm proud that several of you took advantage of other opportunities to learn change-making skills. I'm also really proud how you manage the complexity and the ambiguity of the work, and also how you showed up for yourself, for your team, for the cohort. I'm just really proud of each and every one of you. Every cohort is special, and you are no exception. And I appreciate and I congratulate you for your hard work and for getting to this point. We have a great evening ahead. This is how things will roll. We're going to have a few comments by a surprise speaker. And then each team will have up to 8 minutes to present their project progress and reflections on the year. They will be introduced briefly by their team mentor, and then we will wrap up no later than 7:30. So welcome again, everyone. And I have a really special treat, and it's a pleasure for me to introduce someone who's a dear friend and colleague, and will just provide a few remarks to get us started this evening. So Katie Gray, I think I see you here. I'd like to introduce Katie Gray Altman. Katie Gray graduated from NC State in 2018 with a major in industrial design. And she now has this really impressive title at Lenovo as Design Strategy and Communications Lead. Again at Lenovo, and we're so proud of her and her work. And but what I want you to know about Katie Gray is that her imprint on this program is huge. She played a key role in designing not only the visual elements that Jack then went on to refine, but she really had an impact on the curriculum, on the whole learning pathway and outcomes, and she was really instrumental in helping us launch this program. She's brilliant. She's an impact leader. I could not be more proud to invite her to say a few words for us this evening. Katie Gray.
Hi, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. You guys all know this, but Elizabeth is an amazing cheerleader, and she will continue to be your cheerleaders after you graduate from this program and from NC State. So you're very lucky to have her in your corner. This is my 2 truths and a lie that I'm going to share with you about bringing your purpose and bringing all of this that you've just worked so hard on to quote the real world. So this isn't a typical 2 truths and a lie game. I'm not going to have you guess what's the 2 truths and what's the lie. I'm just going to tell you, but I thought this would be a fun way for you to remember everything. Oops, I skipped. So the 2 truths. First up, your perspective is extremely valuable. So valuable, in fact, that every company out there would be nothing without fresh, youthful perspectives like yours. And yours is especially valuable because you have just gone through this program. And I know, like, I'm just going to hype it up. I'm biased. I am. But it's so true. These skills are not taught to every student, and they're not in every new employee. So even when you're the new one in any circumstance, and even when you disagree with what's going on, speak up, share that perspective, and know that you're bringing like so much value to the table. The second one, this is a mantra that I try to remember all the time. As a young professional, this can be very hard to keep in the forefront of your mind. It's that everybody is rooting for you. And that's so hard because imposter syndrome is real every day. And so when you feel unsure, or again, like when you disagree with what's going on and you need to speak up, or even when you feel sure that everybody is waiting for you to fail, I want you to remember that you have an incredible education from NC State and from the Social Innovation Fellows program that is going to bolster anything that you say and bring to the table. So you have merit to stand on, and everyone is rooting for you. That's why you're there. And especially Elizabeth is always rooting for you. Next up is the lie. The lie is that your impact is tied to your job title. Just no, nope, it's not. It's not at all. And here's why. Your impact is unlimited. It has nothing to do with how well you perform your role. Let's say you graduate and you become an account manager, or you have a summer internship and you're an account manager. Your impact in that role is not tied only to how well you manage accounts. You're going to build relationships. You're going to leverage them to introduce brand new things like empathy and empathy mapping, stepping outside of your list of responsibilities to make a positive impact where you see opportunities, because you have special skills to identify those opportunities that other people don't have. You're going to do these things, and that will define your path with your energy and with your purpose and the way you share them with others. So your path won't be defined by your job title and your list of responsibilities and all of that. You have a lot more to bring than that. Just to recap, 2 truths, 1 lie. The truth, your perspective is extremely valuable. Everybody is rooting for you. And the lie is that your impact is, of course, not tied to your job title. So thank you for hearing me out. Elizabeth, thank you for asking me to be here. Thank you all for letting me be here. I'm very excited to hear what you have to say and to hear everything that you've learned in this past year. I am so impressed with everything that you do. I've heard some sneaky peeks from Elizabeth about what you've been up to. So I'm very excited to see it. And that's all for me. I am so impressed by y'all. So congratulations.
Thank you, Katie Gray. And just like I am your steadfast cheerleader and fan for you and each of you, Katie Gray is here too, and Alicia and Jack and Jay and others, and the team mentors that you've gotten to know. We are a community, and as Raj always says, once a fellow, always a fellow, and we are here to support you even as you take the next step toward the next chapter in your lives. So thank you, Katie Gray. That was wonderful. Okay, so let's get started, because the stars of the show tonight are our students. And I would like to introduce the first team. We have 6 teams, all of whom have been working on a UNSDG problem area and working in partnership with a team mentor, a senior fellow, and a community anchor. And the first team up is Zero Hunger. And the team mentor is Andrew DeMeo. Andrew, I'll turn it over to you.
Wow. Katie, what an incredible introduction and impossible to follow. I gotta say, so I've been teaching innovation, entrepreneurship for a really long time. And I think my teaching can come down to what it looks like to start a lawnmower that's really hard to start. You know, I don't know if anybody's ever done that before. Like you pull the cord on the lawnmower and it doesn't start, and then you like pull it again and you pull it again. And it's like what I'm doing is I'm saying like take initiative, like have initiative, go like meet, regularly meet, just like get together and meet. And I feel like I do this, you know, almost some teams I'll be doing it into, you know, March, like, come on, like, let's go, let's go. And that's like basically all I do. That's my job, is to try to start the lawnmower. And this team, I gotta say, it was like a single start lawnmower. We all met together one time at NC State for the very first lab, and I pulled the lawnmower cord, and it just started, and it just went. And I've just been so impressed by all of you. I'm Hattie, Lacey, Taffy, Talia, and the senior fellow Jill, 5 amazing young women. And I'm going to turn it over to you. And thank you for letting me just kind of hang out on the sidelines and, you know, do some group me chats and get to see your work, because it was a single start pull. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. I am Hattie Altman, and I'm a junior studying media communication and minoring in nonprofit studies.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lacey Malinsky, and I'm a senior majoring in biological sciences with minors in biotechnology and nonprofit studies.
Hi, my name is Taffy Lagarde. I'm a senior studying industrial engineering.
Hi, my name is Talia Suber. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a senior in fashion and textile management.
Hi, I'm Gia, the senior fellow, and I'm a senior in industrial and systems engineering.
So the first thing we just wanted to speak about is kind of just center everybody around our goal, which was zero hunger. You know, as everyone kind of started with these huge sustainable development goals, zero hunger is one of them, but we were really able to start throughout our process to really focus in on the issue of zero hunger within North Carolina, which is really important because North Carolina as a state ranks 10th as food insecure within the entire country. As we see here, North Carolina is super dark. So there are a lot of households in North Carolina that lack adequate access to proper food and resources. And so another thing that came about, and this is something that was brought up during our mid-year presentation as well, is that zero hunger actually connects a lot to the quality education, which is another SDG. And so, and one thing that we noticed is as we thought a lot about how education and hunger are intertwined, we also saw that this is something that really needs to be addressed at the earliest levels in young children to make sure that it really sets people up along the right path as they move forward.
So our Discover journey really began in the very beginning with our system thinking lab and the maps that we made. So these maps were made in the very beginning of the year, the first 2 being when we mapped out our problem with Andrew, and then the second being our stakeholder map. And so although these maps were made in the very beginning, they followed us throughout the rest of the year as we continuously referenced them and ultimately used them as a tool that were very powerful and important throughout our entire journey. And then our second slide, sorry. Our second really big key piece of our Discover journey was our initial stakeholder interviews. So at the time I was interning at a food pantry as well. So I talked to a lot of people there. And then we also had a lot of discussions early on with our community anchor, Sankofa Farms, that we'll talk about in just a little bit. But all of this was done just to really focus on falling in love with the problem and not being clouded by thoughts of a solution in the very beginning. And I think this was really an important phase for our group because we wanted to learn as much as we could without being hung up on quickly coming up with a solution. And it ultimately allowed for us to be really open-minded and have a really broad perspective when we eventually went into our design phase.
So as for our design phase, we were really characterized and influenced by all the stakeholders that we interviewed and interacted with. So from all of those stakeholder interactions, we were able to narrow down our project scope and settle with a final idea. So the next few slides will cover a few of our most influential stakeholder interviews. So first to start off is Sankofa Farms. They target low income and food availability gaps that exist within the minority groups. So the goal of Sankofa Farms is to create a sustainable food source for minorities in both rural and urban areas like Durham and Orange County, North Carolina. So as you can see, they have a curriculum aligned with the NC Essential Standards for Agricultural Education. They're also accepted into Durham Public Schools for free breakfast and lunch programs, and also monitor the behavioral and educational progression as they teach African American boys a little bit about agricultural principles and give them some exposure to that.
So although we were not, although we were not able to partner with them in the way that we initially intended with doing a specific project with them, they were very influential in influencing the rest of our progression throughout the journey. And they ultimately set the foundation for us kind of working in this realm of education and food insecurity. And although we didn't end up doing a project with them towards the end, we did talk about potentially doing something with them and creating a spreadsheet that allowed them to get more access to organizations that they could partner with.
So I also talked with the NC State Feed the Pack Pantry Committee, and they are working here at NC State on the Zero Hunger goal on campus to have a year-long food drive to donate more food throughout the year and increase without overstocking the pantry, which has been an issue in the past. And they're doing this by adding an Amazon wish list and accepting monetary donations for fresh fruits and vegetables. So then they're really scoping down on what students need rather than just accepting every donation and overfilling.
Our last one was a stakeholder with a guidance counselor. I really went into that interview. It was at a Title I school, which means that a lot of percentage of their students were low income and potentially food insecure. So I went into that interview and had a lot of my biases challenged and what I thought the schools needed, and the guidance counselor really gave me a good perspective on what they actually needed. And from that interview, just really implemented this theory of change of like, okay, you guys have all of these processes in place, where can we fill in the gaps?
So when we collaborated in our weekly meetings, we discovered that some of our stakeholders had overlapping interests. So from that came our final idea.
And so we, with our collaborative meetings, we discovered that Interfaith Food Shuttle, which is another stakeholder we were interviewing at the time, said that they did community gardens in schools in Durham and Witt County, sorry. And one of the guidance counselors that I interviewed also said that an idea that they were looking into starting was a community garden for several reasons. So from this idea, we decided to kind of work with Interfaith Food Shuttle, specifically with their community garden school program. And from that came our final prototype.
So our final prototype ended up being a way of increasing healthy learning opportunities and food access. And we're able to utilize our micro grant to provide 3 of these way stations that we drew out to combine education with the process of growing your own food. And they'll be installed throughout the county and people of ages 30 to 70 will have access to them, and schools where teachers can teach their students the process of math and what they're really doing and how their growing efforts are making an impact.
So now we're going to share our short videos that kind of explain about our experience.
This past year as a fellow has challenged me in more ways than I imagined, but I've gained so much from this experience. One of the most meaningful things I learned is how no matter what discipline we are studying individually, in order to be successful change makers, we need each other. Having different perspectives enables us to generate new, diverse ideas. Towards the beginning of the year, one piece of advice we were given was to not fall in love with our first solution, and this is something that has stuck with me. It has also pushed me to get out of my comfort zone and ask more questions. My experience as a fellow has taught me so much, including to be open to change and adapt as circumstances change. The concept we learned this year will continue to challenge me to grow and innovate. This past year as a fellow.
Hi everyone, my name is Lacey Malinsky and I was on Team Zero Hunger this year. My big takeaways from being a Social Innovation Fellow this past year was the importance of taking your time in the discovery phase and really getting to know your problem and fall in love with it. I think it was really important that we spent so much time getting to know Zero Hunger and all of the complexities that are involved in that problem. And it was really important for us to have that base foundational knowledge before we moved into the design and do good phase. And then also something that I'll be taking with me as I move forward is the tools and resources that we've learned in lab, because I know that I've already been able to apply them in other projects outside of SIF this year. And so I'm excited to take those with me as I move forward. Hi everyone, my name is Lacey Malinsky.
I think the thing that I've learned from being a social innovation fellow this past year is really that social entrepreneurship takes a lot of work. As an industrial engineer, as an engineering major, I'm really used to things being super prescriptive, step by step. You know, you're following formulas, you're following a lot of prescripted narratives. But what I've learned through this journey, working especially on such a big social sustainable development goal like zero hunger, is that it's not prescriptive. There are a lot of different ways to skin the cat. And I think that's really exciting because it kind of shows you that there's a lot of room to grow, you know, and it's kind of like a frontier that will never be ended. And then I think the other thing that I've really taken away from this experience is that there's such a great community that comes with interest in social innovation and social impact. And especially as a transfer student, being able to experience that community over this past year has been a really exciting experience for me. I think the thing that I've learned.
Hi, my name is Talia Suber. I'm a part of the Zero Hunger team, and this experience has really informed so many of my next career and inspiration goals. So I knew I wanted to do something in sustainability with my degree in fashion. However, coming to Social Innovation Fellows, I realized that there were so many other ways that you could serve the community to really benefit the overall social needs that were far outside the realm I understood as just, fashion sustainability. So as we discussed in the Zero Hunger team, these different topics and pain points, I really saw how there are so many other avenues and back doors that also lead to the same results. So if the resources or the accessibility is wrong, then you're not necessarily just trying to provide food for somebody. You're trying to, break through a language barrier or like a logistics chain. So I realized that there are so many other ways that a community can be affected. So as I graduate this spring, moving forward, I'm going to be thinking about these different ways that I can serve the community that aren't always at the top of your head. Thank you.
Thank you, Zero Hunger team, and congratulations. Way to go. That was awesome. Okay, moving right along, we have as our next team, Life Underwater, with team mentor, Brian Spate.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to introduce Life Below Water and briefly talk a little bit about our struggles and our successes. I will tell you right out of the gate with this team, I really felt a connection. And it was because during the introductions, I found out that much of my team was in various engineering disciplines. And from the onset, I thought, wow, this is great. We're all going to be on the same wavelength. We're all cut from the same mold. And in reflection, actually, as I was writing this introduction, it really became evident to me that the one thing that I thought was going to really propel us may have actually been the one thing that kind of held us back or proved to be our biggest struggle. And that was focusing in on what problem we actually wanted to solve. You see, as as engineers, we're given these problem solving tools and techniques, and we're expected to apply them to a problem. Very little time and energy was ever spent in school, particularly for me, trying to figure out what the problem was. So that was our single biggest struggle. But ironically, that struggle is really what led to our success. You see, again, as engineers, we like to count things. So we like to count solutions and see how many we can come up with, and we like to count deliverables and see how many deliverables we can pack into a solution. And really, in this case, what we really needed to count was the experience of learning that good social work is really hard work. And I think our team really did learn that this year, and that even though it's hard, we shouldn't be deterred from doing good work. It was Rosa Parks who actually said, and it's a quote from her, "You must never be fearful about what you're doing when it's right." And I think, therefore, again, our deliverable, our success is that we have created a team of fearless change leaders, which by far it will be our best deliverable for this year. So with that, I'll introduce the team, and starting with Matt.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Brian. I know the team has really appreciated your help and mentorship throughout this past year. And good evening, everyone. We are Team Life Below Water, and we'll be sharing with you our final presentation to provide some insight into some of the work that we've done this past year. So to start with some introductions, first we have NCC Grant, which was our community anchor for this project. And my name is Matt Slaughter, and I'm a senior in chemical engineering.
I'm Cindy Polvarum. I'm a senior in ecological engineering and Spanish.
My name is Kendall Zorn, and I'm a senior in environmental engineering.
My name is Luis Jimenez, and I'm a master's student in mechanical engineering.
My name is Anna Rose, or as many of you may know me, Rosie, and I'm a senior in communication and cognitive science.
Hey, I'm Emma Wilson. I'm the senior fellow for the team, and I'm a junior in wildlife science and plant biology.
And I'm Brian Spate, but we met already.
And before we jump into the details of our project, the team members just wanted to give a just reflection over the incredible experiences we've had over the past year.
Hey, so it's been a really amazing year getting to know everyone in SIF, and especially my group members in the Life Below Water team. I've learned a lot this past year. I think one of the biggest takeaways for this program that I've had is when approaching a problem, it's really important to learn as much as you can about the problem before embarking on a solution. And personally, that's something that I think I'll take with me to my future career and any other endeavors that I'll have. So thank you to SIF and everyone that makes the program happen.
Hi everyone. One of the biggest takeaways that I will have from SIF has definitely been the connections and the relationships that I've built with people in SIF, especially on my team, but also in the greater program. It's been really inspiring and a great learning experience to see how people from different disciplines with different perspectives and different skills, either from their major or personally, can come together and really provide a great atmosphere of learning and doing good.
The Social Innovation Fellows have given me not only the tools to go out and make a difference in the world, but also the confidence to do so. I see so many ways in which I can make a positive change in the world around me, and I'm excited to go out there after college and make a huge impact on the world. Thank you again to my amazing and supportive team members for all that they've done this year, and also a big thank you to everyone in the SIF program.
Being a fellow has completely impacted the way in which I go about talking about business, networking, even interviews. I now shift my thinking and my communication to more human-centered and empathic style. So it's just been really priceless to be able to be a social innovation fellow.
My journey with the Social Innovations Fellows has been a good learning experience. I honestly came with no background knowledge or of conservation of fisheries or water pollution. It was very intriguing for me to learn more about a real-world issue and brainstorm ideas with my team to make a meaningful impact in the world. Being part of SIF has helped me understand how complex, how fun, and how rewarding social work can be. But most importantly, it has solidified the importance of understanding the community that's involved in the problem that you're working on. Yes, as a team, we run into some roadblocks and we felt confused at times. But I think that's just part of the learning experience. I think that's just part of being a social innovator.
So as we start off talking about our project, we're starting off with our discover phase. And so after our preliminary research in our Life Below Water Sustainable Development Goal, we decided to focus on the fisheries industry. So we interviewed with Scott Baker from NCC Grant and Susan White, who is our community anchor. And one of the big things that we learned was that there is a conflict in objectives between commercial and recreational fishermen due to them competing for resources. So in the face of climate change, we decided to tackle or address community resiliency, especially coming from this conflict that we just learned about. That requires planning and adaptation. Taking a closer look at the seafood industry, we learned that local catch is a big priority in North Carolina. Local catch helps balance international imports. We have a stand in the farmers market, and there is opportunity for aquaculture in North Carolina as well, like in Asheville and Aurora. So it's a really big economic growth opportunity. But an issue that we learned about is that there isn't a lot of infrastructure to make local or supporting the local catch industry in North Carolina.
So in terms of designing a solution, for us, I feel like it was the topic was very broad, life below water, so that in itself was very overwhelming, just be able to come up with a solution for that or figure out a problem, just because most of us were engineering students and we tend to find solutions rather than create a problem. So for me and my team, that was a bit of a challenge, just like Brian was mentioning. We were confused at first and we had no idea where to take this project. But after being exposed to different topics during the innovation labs, especially understanding how different subsystems influence the main system, we were able to narrow down our topic to conservation of fisheries last semester just by using system thinking. And so our goal last semester was to improve sustainable fishing practices to combat the bad practices that are happening in a local and a global level. However, after interviewing multiple stakeholders and just getting feedbacks from the pro staff as well as just discussing it with our team, we decided to change our project scope and design for a better solution, or a solution that engages our stakeholders. So we changed our solutions to educating all fish consumers about local seafood and its benefits. And so we adjusted our specific goal to accommodate and educate and share the awareness of the importance of local seafood, which ties into the value proposition for our project, because we looked at all the need of the consumers to improve the awareness and healthy habits when it comes to eating fish. And lastly, a pitch was essential for a team, not only to secure funding and support in the future, perhaps, but most importantly, to make a social impact in the life of fish consumers.
As you can see here, we have our motivation and what our ideal end goal would be, as well as the people that we were looking at kind of targeting and having an impact on. What we realized that we were really motivated to pursue was somehow bridging a gap between the consumers and producers that currently exist. And we realized that we really wanted to focus on education as a way to do this. And as you can see on the next slide, this was our social impact roadmap, and you can see on the right kind of all of the steps that we got there and the brainstorming that we had as to the people or the communities that we could impact, as well as the ways in which we could do that. And through all this brainstorming, we really realized that our goal was education for consumers about local seafood in order to have an impact both economically, environmentally, and in as many other ways that this potential impact could possibly have.
So our general vision, we really wanted to focus on fisheries to consumer engagement was our really big goal. And so our main idea for this and our vision was we wanted to put a QR code on menus and brochures and pamphlets that you might find in markets or restaurants. Some of the potential partners that we really kind of highlighted were the 18 Restaurant Group, which is heralded by Chef Jason Smith, who has restaurants all around the Triangle, the AC Ashley Christensen brand of restaurants, and as well as some local markets like Lee Ming's in Durham, Locals and Chapel Hill Farmers Market in Chapel Hill and Blue Dogwood. Some of the potential QR code kind of links, if you think like a link tree that we really wanted to cover, was our story as SIF fellows, some of the farmers and aquaculture people around the state, kind of around the globe, some fish, seafood identification, as well as some recipes and kind of cookbook ideas and contact pages for us. So we really wanted to focus on the idea of sustainability and really emphasize the link that can happen between consumers and different aquaculture sites around the state to make it more personal and so that they could really visualize some of the industries with which they're engaging.
So in conclusion, the team used the general framework of discover, design, and do good to generate solutions to our problem. We implemented many useful skills such as stakeholder mapping and interviews and social impact road mapping, and we narrowed down our general vision to create a QR code with access to educational materials on fishing in North Carolina. And with that, we conclude our presentation for tonight. Thank you to everyone in the SIF program, especially Elizabeth, Alicia, Jack, Jay, Megan, Brian, Susan, and Emma. We really appreciate all that you've done for us this past year.
Thank you, Team Life Underwater. Great work, and a special shout out to Susan White and John Fear and our friends at NCC Grant. This is the second year they've been a community partner, and we really appreciate your involvement and engagement with us. Thank you. Next up is Decent Work and Economic Growth, and the team mentor is Jamal Poulin.
Thanks, Elizabeth. As Elizabeth said, the sustainable goal that we had was decent work and economic growth. The team was a great fit of background, personal experience, and majors, and I think that proved itself throughout on their journey. The community anchor was Karma Wallet, and I encourage everyone to take a look at Karma Wallet. They are a really interesting group that gathers information from a consumer perspective on companies that consumers use, and they assign a grade to those companies, and they actually tie those to all of the UN SDG goals, and it's really interesting what they do. So we appreciate Jayant's help with the group, and from here I will let the stars of the show take over, and I will pass the baton to Grace. Grace?
Hello, everyone. My name is Grace. We are the Decent Work and Economic Growth Group. I am a third-year engineering student and philosophy with a minor in French.
Hi, everybody. I am a senior studying economics and business administration with a finance concentration. I'm a German minor, and I am Lily Morel.
Hi, everyone. My name is Olivia De Jesus. I am a senior in international studies and political science, and I have Spanish and Japanese minors.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shane Fogarty. I'm an architecture and environmental science double major in my sophomore year, with a landscape architecture minor.
Hey guys, my name is Vedant Dulori. I'm a senior in computer science and I'm minoring in business administration.
Hey everyone, I'm Leah Flanders and I am the senior fellow for this team.
I have greatly enjoyed my time in Social Innovation Fellows, and I am very glad I got to participate this year. I have learned how to think critically about problems. I have learned to take many approaches to a problem, and I really enjoyed working with my team.
I really enjoyed my time as a fellow this year. I've learned a lot about the processes of innovation, including how to diagnose a problem and explore all the intricacies of problems. I have also learned a lot with working with a diverse team and an interdisciplinary team and how to incorporate different perspectives into decision making. And finally, I've learned that it's very okay if a project journey isn't smooth and linear, and sometimes that's when the best thinking happens. I really feel like I've grown a lot throughout this year, and I'm so thankful for all the new friendships and relationships I got to make through this experience.
Being a part of the Social Innovation Fellows program has been an inspiring and uplifting experience. Falling in love with the problem challenged me to open my mind and think of the big picture no matter how lofty the overarching issue is. I had the opportunity to work with the most diverse group of students that I've worked with in my time here at NC State, and listening to their experiences and stories has been so inspiring and uplifting, especially in a time that's challenging for us all. Overall, this program has allowed me to develop key skills such as leadership and public speaking, as well as meet some really fantastic people. Thank you.
Social Innovation Fellows has really shaped the way that I view problem solving on a much larger scale than I'm used to. I've learned to be better about understanding an issue thoroughly before jumping to a solution. And I've also learned so much from my group members, since we all tackle problems differently, since we have different backgrounds and different majors.
In the past 1 year, I was able to work with a diverse group of people, which immensely helped me understand a problem or a problem statement from different perspectives and be able to act on it accordingly. It also made me realize that focusing and going in more depth of the problem is way more important than focusing on solution. Lastly, the biggest takeaway I've taken is to be able to make the best out of any situation.
So, since the start of the pandemic, a trend called the Great Resignation has been traveling throughout the United States and throughout the world. Last year, around 47.8 million workers quit their jobs, which this has been the highest record ever by a lot. Some reasons for this include employees saying that their pay was too low or their benefits were too low, that there were no opportunities for advancement, that they felt disrespected at work, that there was too much overtime, and that they wanted to do new work and transition to a new industry and a new job. We're also seeing companies such as Starbucks and Amazon unionized as workers demand more rights. All of this to say is that currently the dynamic between employers and employees is changing, and exploring the basic needs of workers is going to be especially important for the future for both employees and companies alike. The Great Resignation really drives in the point for why decent work is really important as it relates to employees. And this is something that we really dug into and grounded ourselves in during our journey this past year.
As we started exploring the process of system mapping, we discovered that the UN SDG goal was very broad and we wanted to narrow it down. So we broke it into decent work and economic growth. And we found instead of all the factors contributing to these two things, they were circular instead of linear. So all of the factors sort of work together. And we decided to specifically focus on decent work.
As we were mainly focusing towards decent work, we thought that looping in the employees would be one of the most important things to do. And earlier, Karma Wallet basically was a perfect platform for the consumers to make the right shopping decisions and choose the companies that were more sustainable and indirectly impacting the employers. But as we mainly focused towards decent work, we thought including and having a solution that would incorporate and keep employees as one of the stakeholders would make more sense. And hence our solution provides a perfect platform for employees to be able to share about their experiences and which directly would be impacting the employers as well.
So to narrow down on a good solution, we did some stakeholder interviews. We talked to Anna Pardo at the North Carolina Justice Center, and we learned a lot about misconceptions around workers' rights. So we realized that in North Carolina, a lot of people don't realize it's completely legal to form a union, and it's also completely legal to talk about your pay or worker conditions. So we use that idea to apply our solution. We also talked to our community anchor, Jayant, because he is a business owner. And with his company just now starting up and starting to grow and expand, it was really great to hear about his plans for how he makes sure his employees have decent working conditions.
So what's next in our journey? After completing our research and speaking to stakeholders and also realizing the importance of the employee experience to this SDG, we propose a few action items. Firstly, we would like to gather experiences from employees who have brought up issues in the workplace to their employers. And we'd like to do this to determine what kind of possible pushback they could face from employers and to gauge how committed their employers are to addressing the issues that they bring up, and also determine what can be done to improve the employee experience altogether. Next, we would like to put together an informative deliverable that can be widely distributed that provides facts about employee rights in North Carolina that workers may not know. And that also provides resources such as the anonymous forum called Blind, in which employees can ask questions to others within or outside of their industry about issues that they may be facing in the workplace. And finally, we would like to develop an application that combines Blind's forum abilities with legal professionals that can volunteer their time to give legal feedback from an employee perspective. And some examples of issues that could be addressed include, but are not limited to, contract questions, union laws, and workplace legal safety requirements. And lastly, we'd like to give a huge thank you to the entire SIF team and to our community anchor, Jant at Karma Wallet. This has been an amazing experience and we couldn't have done it without you all. So thank you.
Awesome work, team Decent Work and Economic Growth. I hope we have future teams that pick up some of this groundwork that you've laid and will actually execute on some of those great ideas. That was just fantastic. Okay, our fourth team is Affordable and Clean Energy, and the team mentor is Jane Rogers. Jane?
Thanks, Elizabeth. I appreciate being here with all of y'all tonight, and particularly my team. We all know that a team is more powerful than its parts, and leadership develops a group of individuals to see themselves as an equally powerful unit, more capable of accomplishing good things. I'd like to talk briefly about my experiences with individuals on my team so that you can see how they come together to work on this all-important affordable and clean energy task. Allison Starling is a star, kind, thoughtful, and very bright. She was at first hesitant about offering suggestions and ideas, but has come to speak openly and often, offering opportunities to others to offer their suggestions and ideas. She offers opinions very readily, seeing her suggestion as invaluable as a part of the team. She expresses firmly the input that's needed for the team to move forward. Tatum Kellum is an excellent listener, grasps concepts, synthesizes information, and provides it in great detail. She was the scribe for the team. Her recall was sharp and measurable. Although she's majoring in biological sciences, she has strong multidisciplinary approach to problem solving. Importantly, she stays committed to herself, to the team, and to the project. Sarah Smart has great attitude, deeply held convictions where she believes adequate preparation, it brings the right answer to all. She expresses her attitude as seeing opportunities and seeking understanding, a chance to learn something new, to grow. She knows what brings her peace and comfort and is not afraid to share it with in her thoughts with other teammates. Importantly, her intuition works very strongly. Jenny Mangala thinks strategically with a system in mind. She describes, analyzes, concludes, and recommends steps in order and then applies them. With feedback from her team, she repeats the process until a proper solution is agreed upon, but realizes that there is almost always more than one solution. She finds that things come easily as she works for that permanent solution. Now let's meet the team, where Senior Fellow Manasa Chinta is speaking for Tatum Kellum, who is not well tonight.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny Mangala, and I'm a sophomore in electrical engineering.
I'm Sarah Smart, a senior in agriculture science.
I'm Allison Starling, a sophomore in international studies and business administration.
I'm Manasa Chinta, a junior in computer science.
Our community anchor, All We Are, addresses the Sustainable Development Goal number 7 by providing access to electricity through clean energy in rural Uganda. AWA installs solar panels at schools and hospitals to increase student enrollment and retention, power medical equipment, and improve overall quality of life. In the fall, we immersed ourselves in the discovery phase. Here, we developed a deeper understanding of the social issues with lack of access to energy in conjunction with our community anchors goals. We used 3 main tools: systems mapping, stakeholder and empathy mapping, and assessed AWA's human-centered design. Through systems mapping, we identified relationships between AWA and local energy providers, the government's power grid, flexible structures like access to education, and even residual effects of colonization. Our key insights included a feedback loop involving lack of affordability, supplies, infrastructure, and economic development. Stakeholder mapping allowed us to determine who to interview for informational purposes, in addition to interviewing CEO Nathan Thomas. Students are integral to AWA's decision-making, but ultimately rely on the support of school administrations to voice the concerns of student needs. Empathy mapping helped us visualize the needs of AWA's customers and the organization itself. While there is great excitement about the expansion of AWA's impact, we hope to somehow help them reduce the stress of that expansion. 100% of donations fund installations. The staff, all under 30, is comprised of American volunteers and Ugandan employees. The ultimate value AWA brings to communities includes employment opportunities and increased access to education and healthcare.
More meetings with our community partner revealed its need for an increase in donors to meet its $1.2 million fundraising goal for 2022 and 23, and to obtain more volunteer labor. Our team sought to find solutions for these goals and identified 3 options. Option 1 is developing a social media campaign to assist with fundraising. Option 2 was website updates and search engine optimization. And option 3 is internships for college students. After meeting with CEO Nathan Thomas, we discovered that the current impact report needed to highlight the work of US volunteers in order to increase awareness about its unique business model to better understand the impact of monetary donations. Thus, we created an insert for the report about the US volunteer team. Using theory of change, we identified our problem to be a demand for increased donor support and human capital. The key audience for this problem is existing stakeholders. They are likely to donate to the organization and commit their time. As an entry point, the existing impact report is the perfect place to showcase the US volunteer team since it compiles key information about the organization.
Throughout the process, we worked through this list on the left as different avenues to reach our goal. Some of the pitfalls and challenges we faced arose from AWA's rapid changes that influenced our work, the ambiguity in the scope of the project between the overarching SDG and the community anchor, our time constraints with only having the latter portion of the second semester to deliver our solution. And also we discovered our team did not have the specific experience nor this influence to help AWA to raise money, nor to build human pipelines. However, knowing this allowed us to focus on what we could do.
We had many challenges, but we had our triumphs and overcame the difficulties in the process to do good. Last year, the impact report highlighted the work done in Uganda. This year, our team enhanced AWA's efforts to ensure that potential volunteers and donors understand the unique design of the AWA American team and its contributions to the organization as a whole. AWA has 3 sets of volunteers: university-based, corporate, and volunteer leadership. Each of these groups offer unique skill sets such as engineering, marketing, and finance. To highlight and quantify volunteers' consistent and reliable work, our team created a graph showing the many hours of work that they contribute. Each volunteer type is highlighted along with their weekly contribution of work hours. Volunteers collectively contribute around $1,413.28 every hour. We wrote an insert for the 2022 AWA Impact Report to provide greater understanding of the AWA US-based team's total collaborative efforts, showing how they work together to bring more light to thousands of more Ugandan people.
Now we wanted to share our personal takeaways from the program.
Through SIF, I've gained insight into working within the global community while strengthening my teamwork skills. An interesting aspect of working within SIF and in AWA has been the ability to contribute meaningfully to an international organization while never setting foot abroad. SIF has also provided me the opportunity to work with others whom I don't normally interact with across different majors and backgrounds. I believe that this interdisciplinary approach has been very useful in understanding and working in the UN SDGs. SIF has given me a renewed desire to pursue my life's work within the global community and use newly acquired skills like listening to voices of stakeholders and formulating solutions to some of our world's greatest problems. Through SIF, I've gained insight into working within the global community while strengthening my team and in AWA. National organization also provided me the opportunity to work in backgrounds. I believe that this interdisciplinary SIF has acquired skills like listening to voices of problems.
What SIF taught me is simple. Social impact work can be very messy, but it's okay to be in a perpetual state of ambiguity as long as you keep moving forward. As an engineering student, it was easy for me to view the design process as black and white, but with time, I grew to learn the effectiveness of human-centered design and realize that there's power in understanding people and their pain points before jumping straight into ideation. And there's empowerment that happens when people's perspectives are valued throughout the process. I've also learned the importance of great collaboration, so thank you to my team for being so encouraging and inspiring to work with.
Being involved with Social Innovation Fellows has inspired me to think beyond the traditional scope of serving and instead embrace a servant learning mindset. I have learned valuable lessons about social entrepreneurship and am also armed with new tools needed to produce greater impacts worldwide. These lessons have strengthened my understanding of relationships between stakeholders and broader organizations with a particular emphasis on the power of transparency. I hope to continue a lifelong journey of social innovation by applying the lessons learned within the program.
My greatest takeaway has been the collaborative work I've been able to do with a dynamic, diverse group of women. Without these incredible women, this year would not have been as successful. I'm forever grateful for the privilege of working alongside such passionate, empathetic, and brilliantly talented women who I, for one, cannot wait to see each of them knock the socks off the world stage. Thank you to all the staff, faculty, and supporters of this program.
Great work, Affordable and Clean Energy team. I can't wait to see what you all are going to do. And I love that, Sarah. We'll see how the team members knock the socks off the world. That's great. I can't wait to see that either. Okay, let's move on to team number 5, which is climate action with team mentor Miles Wright.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I have to say it's a great honor to introduce this team. It's probably no secret to the other fellows that we've had some ups and downs. It's been a big struggle. We much like climate action, it seems like for the fall semester, what we got was just repetition of bad and hard news. We struggled with the breadth of the topic. We struggle with our community partner. We struggle for our members to make every meeting. And as we through that struggle, though, we really rebooted and learned a couple of the valuable lessons of this program. One is that you've got to continue to iterate. You've got to continue to ask new questions. And our group really came together in January and started doing some of the basic work and reminded itself of what makes this happen. And those are that we started talking to people. We started talking to stakeholders and getting ideas. We had curiosity. We asked for help. That's a big one. You know, when you think you're stuck, you just have to ask people for help, and people are more than willing to do that if you ask. We've got a fantastic team. I could not be more proud of what they've done. The resilience that they've shown, the intelligence, the empathy, the humility that they've done it all with, and the outcomes that they've had through all this struggle. So let me turn it over to Jada, our senior fellow.
Yeah, thank you, Miles. I'm Jada. While they're getting it pulled up, I'll just give my quick little spiel. I am proud of my fellows for finding a way forward despite the obstacles that we faced, like Miles said. And I'm thankful for everything that I've learned, not only about climate action, but about the impact that an individual person can have. I'm happy to have a place among all of you, learning how to be a change maker. And I'm excited to be hearing from all of these teams about the incredible work that they're doing. And I'm excited for you to hear about our group.
Hi, everyone. So we were the climate action group. So Jada just introduced herself, but if she wants to tell a little bit more about herself, she can.
Not much more to know. Business administration. I'm a third year studying marketing. I have minors in psychology and cross-disciplinary leadership.
Yeah, and I'm the other senior fellow. My name is Austin Dunlow. I'm a first year master's student studying international studies.
I'm Lauren Burnham. I'm a second year master's student studying graphic design.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Tran. I am a senior studying nutrition science and biological sciences.
So we wanted to start with some of our reflections from the program. So I joined this team in January, and I was expecting a challenge, and I definitely got that. But honestly, I wouldn't really trade it for anything. Coming out of winter break, we had a new fire ignited, and we were ready to work. And we've had a rough year. And we didn't necessarily achieve everything that we wanted to, but I believe that the social innovation process is a marathon and a sprint. And we're not done yet, and we plan to continue working until we've reached our goal. But being able to move that goalpost to something that was actually attainable was a lesson that I really needed to learn. So I'm really appreciative for the experience.
Yeah, I think overall one of the biggest impacts the program has had on me is the realization of what a commodity time is when doing work for social good. We think of volunteering, for example, a lot of the time as free, but of course, time has a value and is often in short supply. This was evident amongst our team since as students, the demands on our time are torn between school, work, family, life, and then of course, working with others outside of our team. We're constantly asking for a share of their time from our team mentors to stakeholders and beyond. And I think it is important that the group that just presented is highlighting work done by volunteers, since it is often the case that doing work towards a greater good, this work inevitably involves the giving of time, which I think is maybe an undervalued contribution now that we've realized in our team how difficult it can often be.
Okay, so for me, being part of the Social Innovations Fellows program, it has had their ups and downs. This year, it has been difficult on me in terms of my personal life, and at times, I doubted myself a lot. However, I have learned to push myself and learn how to think in a more entrepreneurial way. And the most meaningful thing that I've learned through this program is that it's okay not to know what you're really doing in the beginning, because everyone's in the same boat. And it just made it more comforting for me to know that. And it also helped me with thinking critically and relying on my team heavily. I also learned that it's okay to take your time during the discovery process, because in the beginning, I will admit I wanted to jump in and just figure out a solution quickly, but I had to understand that good things take time.
Yeah, so obviously we were UNSDG 13, which is climate action. So in the beginning, we struggled a lot, obviously, with some of the group circumstances we had, but also just because of how broad the topic of climate action is. So in the fall semester, we kind of were coming out of that with not much done because we didn't really know how to go into something so broad. But in the spring semester, we got this fresh start and we decided to hone in on something that we thought was more approachable, which we'll get into as we move through the presentation. But it really set us on a good path for the new semester.
So early on this semester in the problem-seeking process, a few of us were able to attend the virtual youth dialogue on the National Climate Assessment, which is a comprehensive report on climate change and its impacts that's issued every few years. A few of us participated in the environmental justice breakout group and got to hear other young people's opinions on aspects of environmental justice and climate change while sharing some of our own opinions. Overall, we were given the impression that youth are ready to take action on climate change and are mindful of its impacts on already overburdened communities. But other people our age were encountering some of the same difficulties with the topic, which is the feeling of helplessness in the face of such a large and systemic issue. However, a lot of people agreed that better, more accessible information could help individuals encountering issues related to climate change bring back a sense of agency. So following this conference, or dialogue rather, we interviewed Rebecca Ward, who works with the North Carolina Climate Office. Our discussion with Rebecca focused on how climate action through the lens of equity, with a special focus on communication and aiding people through mitigating impact. 3 key takeaways from this meeting included the issue of climate equity in Raleigh, including the fact that the least economically advantaged neighborhoods in the city are also the hottest. Rebecca also shared her experience with the lack of accessible and comprehensible communications and educational materials for communicating issues of climate change or strategies for dealing with rising temperatures. Finally, she underscored a focus on communications over purely educational materials. Many people affected by climate change are already keenly aware of the effects that it'll have on them, and rather need information in the form of actionable strategies to mitigate impacts to themselves and their families or their livelihoods.
So like Lauren said, one thing we learned about through our stakeholder interviews was this concept of urban heat islands. We really wanted to address some overarching theme of environmental justice. So we focused in on this idea that urban areas, including in Raleigh, are drastically hotter than rural and suburban areas are. And these areas also are much more likely to be made up of people of color and people with low incomes due to historic red lighting and systemic racism. And another point we wanted to make is that when we work to address climate change, we tend to focus heavily on mitigation factors or preventing climate change. So think of something like solar panels or recycling. And while these are great, most climate scientists agree that even if we reach our goals, we're still going to witness drastic changes to our climate that we'll have to adapt to. And there seems to be little focus on actually adapting to climate change, especially for marginalized and poor people. So that was something that we wanted to work towards. So in researching our problem, we found all of these government and nonprofit resources and funds and programs that exist for the sole purpose of addressing some of these adaptation goals. And this included some things like the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality's Weatherization Assistance Program, or even the nonprofit Trees for the Triangle, which we selected because having trees in an area is one of the biggest contributors to a cooler urban area. But these resources were so spread out across the internet that it was difficult even for us as people who were intently looking into it to make sense of it.
So the design project that we ultimately decided to explore was a way of consolidating some of the information we discovered through this research process. Information about programs or strategies that might be useful for people in Raleigh's most heavily impacted neighborhoods was, as Austin mentioned, not centrally located, maybe not well publicized, and was often shrouded in government jargon. We brainstormed ways in which we could feasibly, in the course of the semester, find a way to provide this information in a consolidated and easily distributable format. And we ultimately settled upon the design of a flyer infographic. This handout would include not only the names and descriptions of programs for dealing with rising heat, but could also easily briefly communicate about eligibility issues, provide phone numbers for people to call for information or to apply, and then could ultimately redirect you to a website where we would provide more detailed information and links to things like online applications. We thought that the paper format would be more appropriate for easy distribution and also more convenient for anyone without mobile or at-home internet access. In the process of figuring out the distribution step, we considered places like churches, mosques, community centers, places like that for distribution, as these places were the most likely to have close contact and a trusting relationship with people who might benefit from this information. We've also been in talks with the NC State Cooperative Extension about hosting some of our online materials as well.
So as a team, we looked at how climate action impacts at different levels in society. So in this diagram, it shows the narrowing of our goal of mitigating rising temperatures. So the core problem is overall how climate change is a real threat and exists within our entire society. And it's a visible, the effects are actually visible and it can be catastrophic until we act on it. So that's why we kind of narrowed into noticing that vulnerable populations tend to not have a voice or opinions be heard. And this population is not even considered at all in terms of making policies. And this leads me into the resource barrier, where this population typically doesn't have the proper resources in order to mitigate climate change impacts. They're not aware of different organizations that can provide the information, such as heat-related illnesses, or how organizations can assist them in improving their quality of life, like fixing air conditioning or planting trees. And then lastly, the informational barrier. typically, vulnerable populations tend to lack access to those resources because they don't know where to locate that information. So overall, all these barriers are really interconnected. And then, so as a team, what we expect next for our project is continue to finish up on collecting information, and we plan to distribute flyers within Raleigh's most impacted neighborhoods. And to go even further of what we want to do in the future, we hope to dig a little deeper into the mitigation programs and needs and distribute those information even more in depth. And then how our work will impact our overall broad goal is to improve inequalities that exist within the conversation involved with climate change.
Thank you, Climate Action Team, and great work. And I just want to celebrate and commend you all for the tremendous progress that you made this semester, because last semester was really tough and you guys rallied. Austin, you came in and did such great work, and Jada and every team member really showed up. And I'm really proud of each of you. Really great work. Okay, our last team of the evening is responsible consumption and production with team mentor Raj Narayan.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and good evening, everyone. And what a great set of presentations. I'm feeling inspired by the work of all of our SIF teams. The Keenan Institute for Engineering, Technology, and Science at NC State University has been privileged to be a partner in support of the Social Innovation Fellows Program. And the Social Innovation Fellows Program is a wonderful and talented community of leaders, and we're grateful to be a part of this community with all of you. There's a saying that teamwork makes the dream work, and it's always a dream to work with our Social Innovation Fellows. I want to congratulate the Responsible Consumption and Production team for their collaboration and thoughtful approach in pursuit of their goals this year. Zara, Nyambe, Varunya, Pratik, Noah, and Sky, you all epitomize the qualities that make a successful team. You've been inclusive of each other's ideas and supportive of one another, even as challenges arose over the course of this year. You've been very resilient and adaptable in your inquiry while remaining diligent and focused in your work together. One of the moments from our time together that I appreciated regarding your ability to work well as a team was during your Voice of the Stakeholder interview with Mark Townley of our Keenan Fellows Program. You all prepared for the interview really well with substantive questions. What I found especially compelling during the interview was how seamlessly and mindfully you all interacted as a team to inform that conversation while simultaneously capturing Mark's feedback and integrating it into your analysis in real time. It was a very impressive demonstration of effective Voice of the Stakeholder interviewing and your collegial team dynamics. As you all conclude your year together in the Social Innovation Fellows Program, I encourage you and all of the SIF teams to remain in the practice of social innovation and entrepreneurship as you progress in your time at NC State and in your careers. These are life skills and experiences that you will never forget and can always keep honing. I've truly enjoyed working with all of you and look forward to your continued success in the time to come. Please join me in welcoming the Responsible Consumption and Production team and sharing their final presentation with you this evening.
Thank you so much, Raj, for the warm introduction. Now let's meet the team. I am Nyambe James, and I'm a graduating senior majoring in sustainable materials and technology.
I'm Pratik Velagapudi. I'm in the class of 2024, and I'm a computer science major.
Hi, everyone. My name is Varunya Karthikeyan, and I'm class of 2023. I'm currently a marketing and international studies major.
Hi, I'm Zara Pandit. I'm a junior in majoring in business administration with a concentration in marketing.
I'm Sky Pham. I'm a junior in sustainable materials and technology.
In this presentation, we're going to discuss the process we took in our project. First, we discovered the problem. We scoped our project, mapped stakeholders, and interviewed stakeholders. Second, we designed the theory of change based on our project. Third, we narrowed our project focus. And finally, we decided the next steps in our journey as a team and documented our own personal journeys. Our UN SDG goal, responsible consumption and production, is a broad goal. Responsible consumption and production is to ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns globally. Our partner for this goal for the second year is the NC State's Compost Facility and Research Cooperative, a campus unit that handles nearly all of its organic waste and strives to provide a space for students, faculty, and community members to better understand the environmental benefits of composting. Our team will be focusing on this sustainable development goal through an educational-based lens. I'll pass it off to Nyambe to talk about project scoping.
Awesome, thank you, Pratik. Our project scoping helped us to identify and put our problem into perspective. Touring the NC State compost facility allowed us to understand just how much contamination finds its way into our organic stream, and we began to think about the cause of this problem. We eventually came to the conclusion that youth are not averse to change and new practices, but there are geographic, cultural, and educational barriers in place that prevent them from practicing responsible consumption.
As part of our Discover phase, we focused on identifying our stakeholders. Here we have categorized them by level of importance and influence. Based on our initial solution that we hope to implement, we found that the stakeholders with the highest impact for our solution are the SIF team, primary school students, and Dragonfly Nature programs. Next, we'll discuss how our stakeholder interviews impacted our solution development.
Thank you, Zara. One of the very first interviews that we held was with Mr. Mark Townley, who was our very own Assistant Director of Programs for the Keenan Fellows Program for Teacher Leadership. With this interview, we learned the importance of teaching information that truly resonates with the students. We learned that the best way to get information to stick is by making sure that our teaching methodology is personal, non-traditional, interactive, and interdisciplinary. I'll now pass it over to Nyambe.
Awesome, thanks, Verinia. After talking with Matt and Adam, we realized that NC State is where many students are introduced to organics diversion. This lack of prior experience is one of the factors that contributes to contamination. This interview also showed us the importance of rewards and incentives when it comes to capturing and keeping student attention.
Through our interview with Rachel, we learned how limited environmental education is in schools, and thus how it really doesn't result in the behavioral change that we would like to see.
After talking to these stakeholders, we were left with several key takeaways and impacts. First, we found that teaching children to love the environment will likely lead to positive behavioral change. Second, we found that integrating responsible consumption and production into the classroom culture will result in long-lasting takeaways for the children.
Using the information we've gathered from our stakeholder interviews and the problems we identified with our project scoping, we were able to come up with a plan. Using passive education and a collaboration with Dragonfly NatureWorks, we aim to not only increase the compost knowledge within primary school students, but we hope to increase their interest in responsible consumption as well. Our stakeholder interviews were crucial in developing our plan. Rachel taught us that teachers don't have much flexibility with teaching topics outside of their given curriculum. So we came up with the idea of using our microinvestment to purchase compost bins for teachers' classrooms. This way, students can learn about responsible consumption without an entire lesson plan dedicated to composting.
Thank you. We're now moving into the do good portion of our learning process. In this category, we focus on the toolkit of storytelling. Storytelling can be a powerful way to instill change. When we were discussing this topic, we came to the conclusion that as a species, we are most impressionable when we are young. This fact helped us choose primary school students as the main population that we will be working with. With the flexibility of their minds, we hope to instill values and positive action within them. This will result with these students implementing and carrying these transformative behaviors into their adult life. Hopefully this brings in the new generation of change makers as they pass on this knowledge to past and future generations.
Now moving on to our next steps, I'll be discussing the initial solution that we hope to implement. We believe in the importance of making environmental stewardship part of everyday life for children. Thus, our initial solution will involve working with Rachel Woods from Dragonfly Nature Programs and a local primary school to integrate composting bins into a few of their classrooms in a way that sustainable actions become second nature. We've discussed possibly using our micro investment to do this. In addition, sustainable actions will be reinforced by linking it to a reward structure. We plan on combining our solution with free resources for teachers on how to use composting bins and an interactive lesson for students about composting. Next, we'll move on to our personal journeys, starting with Pratik.
Yeah, sure, I can go ahead and start. One thing that I really took away from this whole experience with SIF is how having teammates with different backgrounds can be really beneficial, because each teammate can provide a unique perspective in how to approach different problems. I also learned about how to trust the process, because even though there's so many steps and it may feel sort of long in each step, they're all necessary in order to find the actual solution and final product in the end.
As a fellow, one of my most meaningful moments in this program was when I saw our group really come together. Although we all have different backgrounds and are in different fields, we were really able to use our advantage of intersectionality to put this project together. Without each one of the members, I know that we could not have pulled this off. The biggest lesson that I'm taking away from this program is the ability to look at an issue through multiple lenses without letting bias interfere. I have truly learned how to understand other perspectives and to use that information to come up with a solution that benefits everyone as much as possible. With the multiple tools we learned in SIF, I have now built a skill set that will help me with my academic and professional career in the future. Thank you so much for everyone for making this a great experience.
One of my, oh, sorry. Yambe, do you want to go?
So as a sustainable materials and technology major, I've spent my time in the classroom learning about the economic and environmental pillars of sustainability. So joining the Social Innovation Fellows team has been really beneficial because I've been able to explore the social aspect. And in addition to all of the things I've learned through this journey, I really just want to say that this experience has changed my career aspirations as well. I've always known that I want the work that I do to impact the environment in some way, but I've really honed in that I want to focus on social impact. I've learned the importance of identifying and meeting with stakeholders, developing a story, and falling in love with the problem and not the solution. I hope to one day find a job that allows me to do all of these things in addition to the other tools I've learned from this program.
One of my biggest takeaways from this program has been learning how to communicate, involve, and really listen to the stakeholders and shareholders throughout the whole process. And I also want to thank Alicia and Elizabeth for opening opportunities to us. And it's really taught me a lot, especially about leadership and social entrepreneurship. And now I will hand it back to Veronia.
We would like to wrap up by thanking everyone who has helped us in this journey. We'd like to thank Raj, Sky, Mark, Rachel, and the conference facility and the SIF team at this time. Thank you everyone for your continued support and involvement.
Thank you. Responsible consumption and production. And that was really a really great example of adapting to your environment. I'm really proud of that. Good job. So we're right on time to close, and I just want to say a lot of folks on this call that joined us have been really important to the growth of this program and sustaining the program. A special shout out to Raj and the Keenan Institute for many years of steadfast support. It's been really an important partnership, and I can't thank you enough. I see Tom and Jen and many others from NC State, colleagues, faculty, supporters, donors are on the call. This is a collective effort. You know, it takes all of us working together. And just as we heard from our students, respecting, understanding, listening, communicating, being transparent with one another, we value this community and we value each of your roles within this community. And we couldn't do it without you. A special shout out to Claire Jordan, who some of you may have met, but she has served as our advisor and chair to accomplish a full year-long strategic planning process to build a vision for this work and to grow this work at NC State's campus. She's joined by other advisors that are also on this call, Kristen and others, and I thank you for your diligence and your ongoing efforts to help better plant this and anchor this work at NC State. And Jane, you're one of those people too. This week, we're going to celebrate 5 years of this program. You all represent the 5th year of cohorts, and I could not be more proud of all the ways that you've shown up for one another. So with that, I will close. And I think, Alicia, you wanted to say something?
I just want to reiterate, sorry, how proud we are of all of you students, especially congratulations to those of you who are graduating. All of you have taken on this really, really hard work during this crazy year. And so we are extremely proud of you. And to reiterate what Katie Grace said, we're here rooting for you. So calling us when you need to and stay in touch, because like Raj always says, as Elizabeth mentioned, once a fellow, always a fellow.
Thank you, everybody, and congratulations, and good night.